So I found myself a week or so later standing in a health food store. Didn't know what I was doing in there, but I just found myself standing there, and these two ladies were talking. One was a customer, and one owned the store. They were talking to each other, and one of them got to talking about she was an iridologist. Well, I didn't know what an iridologist was, but as they talked about it, I could tell it was something to do with the eye. So I asked the lady about doing iridology on me, and she said, yeah. And I said, how much you charge? She says, $10. So she did the iridology on me. She put the light in the glass up to my eye. She said, my God, what have they done to your prostate? Now here's a woman that didn't know my name, but she saw that prostate problem. They hadn't done anything to it other than just taking drugs. They hadn't done anything to it. But the lady put me on an herbal program. And in 2 days, the herb was able to do what drugs couldn't do in 5 years. Amen. We're talking about 48 hours. And let me tell you the reason why I knew that I had something totally different was because, you remember I said that once a year it used to swell the right testicle to the point that all I could do was sit down. I couldn't do anything. I had no clothes on and nothing. I had to sit down because it was that painful. They'd give me antibiotics, and stubbornly it would go down. That, no matter how much it went down, the tenderness never disappeared in it. And 48 hours after I took the herbs, the tenderness disappeared for the first time in 5 years. So I knew I had latched onto something. Now, I didn't even know what herbs were, folks. I didn't even know what they were. But I got to thinking about it that morning as I sat there and had this absolute relief that I hadn't known in 5 years. And of course, I was not expecting anything. I was not expecting anything from these herbs. But it happened. It wasn't like I was planning on getting something. I just started taking the herbs because the woman, what did I have to lose? Nothing else had worked. And I started thinking about it. I'm saying to myself, well, how come the doctors couldn't find it? How come the medicine, how come it didn't work? And I jumped from that to, finally I said, okay, this came right out of the earth. And I go, all right, who's in charge of the earth? And I go, oh, yeah. I figured if this herb knew that I had a problem with my prostate, there had to be an herb out there for every so-called illness that we had. And folks, it is there. It is there. And what's more is, it is not hidden from anybody. It is not reserved for any group of people on earth. It is reserved for individual people like you and me. And one time, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents, they had that. It's still available. It still does the same thing today as it did before. We have got to realize that that's what we have got to do. By 1995, you're going to see a major change in herbs. In fact, one of the things you're probably going to see is you're probably going to see the insurance companies start paying a little bit for herbs and for alternative care. But by the turn of the century, drugs is going to be the alternative.